America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show, coming to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for an hour. So we've got Bob joining us from Canada. Thanks for jumping in.
Hey, glad to be here.
Right on. So sorry for the lateness. I sent out links to a bunch of people who had purchased, the people who have purchased stuff over the weekend at the Gear website store, and I was hoping that some of them would jump in so that we could do some patch giveaways tonight, or let them pick some patches tonight, and then I also sent some invites out to people to join tonight. So we're kind of BSing a little bit, catching up, and I guess we went over the start time here a little bit by 20 minutes. So apologize for the late start, but I don't know. I think this is episode 1012. So Bob's jumping in from the Canada, and we got, I can't tell. It says we got 4 people only watching. No, it says 12. So try to make this a conversation. So if you're out there and watching on the thing live, then use the comments, be part of the conversation. If you're listening in the future, I'm not used to this mic being right in my face. It's frustrating having to look around. If I put it up there, can you still hear me all right? Is that good? Or no?
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, because now it's up above me, pointing down at me, because before I had it sort of right in my face, like when you watch somebody on the radio or something, and it's driving me nuts having to look around it. All right, so yeah, Chris is the only one that sent me a reply, but I had sent out an email to ask the people. I tried to do a show yesterday. I think I fell asleep, and it didn't really have a long show. But also nobody showed up. Got it again, sorry. So I had asked people who had ordered over the weekend. 3 people ordered over the weekend, and then another couple of 3 people had ordered this month, or last month. So I offered them to come in tonight also. So Chris, if nobody else, let me go double check what I'm saying here, but I'm pretty sure if nobody else has responded, then the over under shotgun patch is Clovers, and he sent me like 3 or 4 of those, so I've got more than one. You can definitely have that one. The Mongoose patch I'd have to look at. So let's oh, that's interesting. I just opened up a video. How do I get to this picture? Oh, the Mongoose fighting that cobra. I think I got that. I sold that one from Angelina. The Mayflower, I have more than one of, so that's not a problem. Oh, the only thing about the Mayflower is there's 2 Mayflowers. There's the Mayflower Black and there's the Mayflower Multicam. And then TNW. Let's see the TNW. Where's that TNW one? I guess I could probably screen share this so we're all looking at the same picture. But I sent them all a picture and asked them to pick whatever they wanted from here. But I don't know which one the TNW. What color is it? It has to be one of them colors. And then the Trijicon Slayer. The Pig Slayer. Now we're waiting for his response if he's hearing me. Oh, I never did screen share this, huh? So let me close this, or I guess move it over here, and then we can leave that open, I guess. And I'll move this over here. And then if I screen share this screen, you should be able to look at the same picture I'm looking at. Did that work? Yes. Do this. And do this. Yeah. So there's a bunch of pick patches that so far nobody's claimed, or that we have multiples of, or whatever. And then, is there anybody out there who is one of the Patreons at the BLT level? Wait, no, not the BLT. Yeah, pancakes level, ammo level, or van level, not the BLT. The one with the gun silhouette on the aircraft. Oh, okay. I don't know who that was. I think I got that one. I remember picking it up and I just snatched it. So I assume that there's somebody in aviation. Where the hell is it? You see it, Bob? It's a black one and it looks like the outline. Oh, there it is. Down here, this shield. TNW. Do you know what they do, or you just like the patch? Yeah, we're talking Patreons basically at the $20 and up are the ones that are going to get dibs on the best patches. Other Patreons at the $5 level, if it costs me $3, it's not the patches because I got the patches for free. But if I send $3 out to you, it might not seem like a big deal, but I make $1,000 a month, right? So by sending out $3 on a $5 thing, I then don't make enough. I mean, I don't make enough to pay all the bills right now anyway, but I definitely don't make enough to. I mean, I wish I could. I just don't have enough Patreons to be able to do that. So what I do for the $5 ones is you guys get stickers every other month or so. Usually I get those stickers made, or I rip them off from Angelina when she's not looking. But this time you guys are getting, SHOT Show stickers. But I do those, and they get out in an envelope that doesn't cost very much, and then with a stamp. And actually, since we're talking about it, I think I can go in because of the way this computer works. Because it's awesome, I'll bet you if I just screen share that screen over there. Let's see what we can do. Can you see my screen over here, Bob? Are you looking? Or are you eating? Let's see if this works. What the hell? That's not showing up on that screen, right? Let's see. How do I get something to show up over there? Oh, they're not in alphabetical order, or they're not in chronological order. Oh, and now I don't know if I've even edited it. So I was going to show you something that I had done for the sticker level, but I don't think I've edited it yet. I was under the impression we were going to get one free patch. If I only get one, it'd be the over and under. The aircraft one caught my eye because I have a private pilot's license. Right on. Yeah, normally a person that ordered would get a free patch, but you've ordered something like 6 times, so 9 times. You can have as many free patches as you want. Let's see. DTP, everyone and no one. Oh, Night Strike. Why is he saying boo? I don't know. Let's see. So with that, we'll see if anybody else shows up that, like I say, is one of the Patreons. They've got a different set of patches. Otherwise, whatever. I was telling Bob about the duck here. So Bob, I guess you were trying to do some kind of live thing earlier. Bob's eating soup. He has to take all his teeth out, and he has a prosthetic tongue that he uses, so he puts a different one in for soup, I think. And I don't want to make him jump back and forth real fast all the time, so he'll just keep eating his soup. He has a special set of teeth for the crackers in between. He swaps out. Or he got soup all over his mute button. I don't know. But he was asking me about the duck, and I was telling him how his Canadian company, run by a couple of Canadians, so now he likes it. But it's got pluses and negatives, I was telling him. So the duck is StreamYard, so StreamYard.com. Stream because of streaming, I guess. Yard because of, they're good and they're not using stupid metric, and they're trying to subliminally let us know that they don't use any metric, so they're a valid company. So you got StreamYard.com. And then they decided to use the Mallard duck because of they're Canadians, and they used a snooty one to act like they're upper class. So they put a monocle on it. So it's free, or you can pay them, and it's a ripoff. It's $25 a month. So I don't know what that is in Canadian, but that's a lot of money for an American. So when you pay them, you can do extra features, but without paying them, you can do quite a few features. But there's limitations, 20 hours a month. So this show, if I do this show every single day, I can't do it on the Duck for free. They start sending me hate letters, emails that tell me I'm running out of my time. And then the other limitation that's kind of shitty is the 6 people green room. So you noticed you were in that green room before. If somebody comes in and you're not paying attention, they're just stuck in the green room. When you let them in, you can juggle them around, which is kind of neat, but there's a limitation of 6. That's shitty. And then whenever the host isn't there to moderate or direct or whatever it's called to like bring people in and out, they can't. So it's not a good platform for just having conversations or whatever. So I don't know if I've heard all of that or not, but that was the summary of the Duck. Other options are free, but they don't give you the same features. Mainly, they don't give you the room with the 6 people. They just give you a stream, which is kind of lame. And that would be like OBS or XSplit. Those are pieces of software that you have to run on your computer. Honda's got a link. You could jump in if you want. And the problems with those is that you have to have a computer that can handle the software. And for me, I didn't, till recently, I didn't even have a computer that could handle that. Yeah, well, can you put a private message feature on your platform? Oh, have I been sitting this on mute the whole time? Damn. How much that did I? Oh, shit. I don't know how long I've been on mute. Is Bob still out there? Oh, what the hell? Why does this thing keep muting? Damn, I don't know how much of that I said on mute and how much of it I was not muted for. Is Bob still out there? Stupid Duck. So I don't know if the Duck is messing with me or if I'm accidentally smashing a space bar or something here. Okay. So I'm not going to repeat all that then. Looks like I was only on mute for like 10 seconds. So with that, I don't know. We got links out there to people, and if they want to jump in, they can. Otherwise, let's see. Today in history, we can take a look at that. What is today, the 7th? 4th? USO was founded. No, I can't say it. Yeah, I guess it was the 4th. Weird. Calendar starts on Monday. So USO was founded today, 1941. Pretty cool. I think they're one of the ones that most of the money goes to the organization and not to the bureaucracy. There's Honda. Yeah, Bob was eating soup, so I don't know if he walked away or if he's just got soup all over his mic.
What's up, G?
Hey, so you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, we just were mainly the topic tonight was to give away some patches to the people that ordered stuff to get us up to the 2A rally in Santa Fe last week. And I guess we really didn't talk about that too much since I only did like a 15-minute show yesterday. But what the hell was I on? Was it Matt's show? I guess we were chatting about it in Matt's show a little bit. I was going to ask you to come down because you were talking about how you had never really been south of Denver before. Not south of Denver, south of out of Colorado, it's going south before. So I figured that might be a good introduction for you. But I don't know, how far would it be to Santa Fe from Denver? Probably 2, 4, 6 hours, something like that. It would have been a drive.
Let me look.
I'm thinking 2 hours to the border, 3 hours to the border, and then another 3 hours over there, 2 hours over there.
And it looks like 6 hours to get to Santa Fe.
So would have been a neat drive, though. You've already been to the stuff in Colorado Springs, but in Trinidad, there's a gunsmithing school, which isn't a big deal, but it's something. It looks really neat. Trinidad's a really neat little town. Looks like a train set. And then you get right across the border into New Mexico. You got the NRA range and museum there. And then
In Raton.
yeah. And then, of course, then you get to Las Vegas, New Mexico. That's where Red Dawn was filmed at. So there's all kinds of cool stuff there if you like that movie and a bunch of other movies. And then you zip around the bottom of that plateau or that mountain, and then you're in Santa Fe. And it's like, 2 hours to the one thing, 2 hours to the next thing, 2 hours to the next thing. So it's a nice little break in a 6-hour drive. And the weather would have been decent, and you got good gas mileage, but it would have been 6 hours of driving means 12 hours of driving each, get there and back. Plus you got to arrange it so that you hit it when there's actually the rally, which, making a drive for 6 hours when you're just going there for, time is your own is one thing, but having to be there at 11 a.m. on a Friday means that you got to leave at a certain time, early, and you can stick around, I guess, but it also means you got to take a drive home after. So I didn't even bother calling you because I figured you wouldn't be able to do it, but
Yeah, I generally work on Fridays and Saturdays. Unfortunately. That's all right, though. Did you hear about the and I'm sure you've heard about this, that lady whose son got shot by a police officer in like Greeley or Fort Collins or something like that, Colorado, who called the police and claimed a red flag against the cop who shot her son? Remember that story?
no. So I heard something about a red flag had a person who put in a red flag got arrested. So someone who tried to use a red flag, like maliciously, it backfired on them and they got in trouble for trying to abuse the system. At least that's how I understood it. Now, is that what you're talking about, or am I misunderstanding?
I think that's probably the same story, honestly. The way it happened was, as I said, her son got killed in an altercation, yada, yada, yada. She put in a red flag, supposedly maliciously or falsely, against the police officer who was the perpetrator or the officer involved with the shooting or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, they ultimately rejected the motion in court or whatever, like they didn't rubber stamp it. So the person didn't get red flagged, but then they also issued a warrant for her arrest for falsifying court documents, I believe was the charge. Perjury, basically. And so they show up to her house while she's on a live stream, supposedly with someone from Gun Channels. I'd have to look at it. Dead Horse sent it to me on my Discord. So I don't know who this...
Well, I saw the thing that Dead Horse sent me, but I didn't watch the video. So now that's all three things coming in. So now you're saying something happened, if I'm understanding it, something happened to a kid, and then the kid's mom called in a red flag maliciously on the cop who did something to the kid.
Mhm.
They did not follow through on the red flag, but instead went after her for it, like maliciously doing a red flag thing as a punitive action. So she was trying to abuse the system. But now you're saying that when they went to go get her for that, she was on a live stream chat. And now you're saying in addition, it was with somebody who was on Gun Channels?
I don't know if it was someone on Gun Channels or if it was just a gun channel. I'm not sure. Looking at what he sent me now. Maybe I misunderstood that when I was reading it earlier. He says,
okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's a guy who's got a gun channel. I was looking at his channel; doesn't have that many subscribers or whatever. But she was talking about how like the DA won't release the information and like the badge cam or whatever. Supposedly, she thinks it's been like doctored, and they won't give her like the original copy, and this and that, and like she's got a website and all this stuff, and she's talking about how corrupt they are in Colorado and how bad these red flag laws are. And I just thought it was a interesting interview, while at the same time the police are trying to beat in her front door, which they ultimately do, and then like. I wouldn't say they broke her arm, but like they, made her think that they were going to break her arm and, drug her out of there. Well, on a live stream just north of here. It's crazy.
Oh, okay. So I got the impression it was in Utah. So she's in Colorado.
Yeah, it's in Fort Collins.
Okay. Can you hear that?
Water?
Yeah, I'm pouring. Well, it's bullshit peach nectarine crap, but yeah, pouring it into a cup.
Oh, dude, I caught the coronavirus or some shit. I don't know what it is. It's awful. Like I can barely even talk right now without being in pain. Like my lymph nodes are all swollen up. My throat like hurts so bad right now, but it's all good. I've been drinking orange juice like a crazy man.
Tell you what, that virus is no joking matter, man. There's a friend of mine here is from China, and him and his wife were buying boxes and boxes of masks to send back to their family. Kind of scary.
So I see Skips out there. Welcome. So there's Bob. I didn't notice. I always leave it flipped over. That's another thing about the duck or the StreamYard is that, well, okay, so I don't know if you heard before, Bob. Bob had said in the side chat, in the private chat, that he was going to be gone. So he said, be right back. And I was saying a bunch of stuff to you, and I don't know if I said all that while you were gone or whatever, but we had started the show off air talking about this StreamYard. Did you hear me talk about any of that stuff on here?
Yeah, I did.
No, I mean Bob.
Yeah,
Okay, so we'll go through all that again. One of the other things that StreamYard has, which is neat, is like here. Oops. Like Skip said, hey everyone, and then Weston said, hey. So I can click on them over here and it puts it on the screen for everybody to see. So that's super cool. Like somebody puts a phone number, an email address, or a website or something up there. You can post it like that. Like that. So that part of it's cool. But then over here on, you can't see, I guess. I can screen share. What am I doing? If I screen share that screen again and then shove the StreamYard over here. See over here's the private chat. I always leave it flip over to their chat. And that's how you go in here and you click on them to make it show up over here. Right? So I didn't realize that Bob had said, be right back. And there's no timestamp here. So he could have said that like 5 minutes before I started talking to him or 5 minutes ago, So anyway, that's a little behind the scenes on this StreamYard thing. So it's not perfect. It's not great. It's not bad. It's got some tools that Hangouts never had, but it's got limitations that Hangout never had either.
It's pretty easy to use. I mean, like as far as like setting up a chat and doing all that, like
it's one of the easiest things ever. And for sending someone a link, boom, you just send them a link. They don't have to be a member of YouTube or Google or any of that garbage. They just join. You can start, run, host it from a phone. That part's super good. But I don't know, for you, it ain't a big deal. Run by Canadians. So better than, I don't know, something else.
Yeah, we're going to legalize all news agencies in Canada with the government. You have to get a license.
Yeah, see, I don't think about that. So, I was thinking, someplace in like Europe where, hey, whatever, we just decided that digital data is a human right or some crap. So now, guess what? Even though websites were built this way, now they have to provide data that was never designed to be pulled from it and make that available to any user. So it's like effectively saying, hey, change all technology, or like all old tech can't even work anymore. Or like you can't run your own projects the way you wanted to. because we've decided to change the rules underneath you. But yeah, if Canada's going to do some weird shit like that, then if next week all of a sudden StreamYard can't say poop because Canadians said that's against the law, that would suck. So
wait. They're making journalists in Canada have a license to do journalism.
Yeah.
What if you're a YouTuber in Canada? Like, for instance, Stefan Molyneux is probably someone that the government wouldn't want speaking. He lives in Canada. He does YouTube videos. He could be considered a journalist. He's done, documentaries and stuff like that. Does he have to get a license to continue to do that?
Well, and that's the $64,000 question.
wait,
That'd be-
it's going to cost $4,000 for that license?
We don't know what it's going to cost, but I mean, just the fact that the government wants to have all journalists licensed. Think about that. Can you think anything bad that could happen with that?
Well, I mean, in theory, versus practice, right? Like in theory, you're like, yeah, there's like all these people who are out there doing like fake news stuff left and right, and we want to control it. But then in practice, you're like, well, now the only people who get to spread news are the ones who we agree with. I don't know. It's bad.
The ones that the government says is okay. Well, that's pretty much becomes a dictatorship, right?
Well, you can't trust the people to make up their own minds about what they believe and not, right? You gotta make it up for them.
Well, hold on.
That's what they believe.
So I was just sending an email to Skip in case she wants to jump in. I don't know. It's kind of late, but if she wants to, she's welcome. When you're saying that you got to have a license to be in the press or whatever, there's different levels of press, right? So you're talking to have like an accredited press pass, and a press pass is something that like gives you access to be like behind police lines because you have freedom of the press. You can't stifle me. I'm officially the press, so that gives me more authority or more, more stuff than more options than somebody who's not accredited. Like that level of press, or are you talking like Honda saying anybody with a YouTube channel? I mean that's suggesting that anybody who says anything beyond like hi, hello, it's a nice day today can't have a Facebook page. You know what I mean? Like, where are they going to draw the line? I can understand them saying in order to get like access to police autopsy information or something, we want you to be vetted as actual press and not just be a YouTuber.
Well, they're talking the government is going to decide whether as a reporter, depending on what your firm is and that, whether you get to be actual news. Otherwise, you will be regulated to entertainment, and you won't be allowed under YouTube to put any content out that is news related. If it's news related, they demonetize and ban and whatever. Because you're not an accredited reporter.
Yeah, see, that's not. YouTube doesn't have anything in place that says, like, oh, there's a big yellow line around this because it's not a reporter's content. There's no barrier to entry on YouTube. If it's meets their terms of service, it's put out there. There's no like special gold trim around stuff that's, from the press or that's like officially sanctioned.
Well, that's why the government here wants to make it a law so that way they can go after the company for breaking the law. Right.
Well, then what? They would just say you can't navigate to that site if you're in Canada. I mean, there's no boundary on the internet that says, don't show this to Canada. Canada would have to put up a firewall or something. They'd have to tell people, don't go look at that website.
Right, and that's like the Great Firewall of China, right? Well, the present government right now in Canada, that is who he admires the most is the leadership in China. He thinks they've got the right idea, and they just get stuff done because they don't have to worry about all that pesky, people disagreeing with him. He's actually said that in interviews. This guy's a total dork.
All right. Well, if Canada does that, then the StreamYard will be even shittier. But
Yep.
or they'll just have some exception that says if you're hosting it, to Americans between Americans, then they can do whatever they want. But whatever, it's here nor there.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, it does go to show you how they're not very protected up there without a First Amendment and without a Second Amendment, right?
No, too true, man.
It's not like they got a tyrant, like a tyrant, just doing stuff that you guys voted for him and people are supporting him. It's not like the country's going, oh no, and he just keeps doing stuff and the whole country's flustered. Like a whole bunch of people are going, yay, these are what we want him to do, right?
I think there's kind of both things going on, because there's probably some people who totally agree with them, and there's probably a large group of people out there up in Canada who are not very politically involved because they have their own things going on in their own lives. So when government comes in and starts interfering with what you want to do, then you start paying attention, but not until then. So I think that's probably going on to some extent at this point.
Well, right now in Canada, the western provinces, mostly Saskatchewan and Alberta, want to leave Canada and become part of the United States. They voted over 50% to leave, like in polls. It's over 50% in both provinces to get out and become either an independent country or part of America.
Well, you don't get to just be like, hey, we want to be part of the United States, and then we gotta have some obligation. Like, dang it, now you
got us.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
we're not about to just change our flag. You're gonna have 200 states or something, or one big new Alaska. We had New Mexico. We could have New Alaska.
I'm pretty sure that Trump wouldn't want a province. Number one is the largest producer of wheat and grain. The other one, the largest producer of oil. And then the first one that has wheat and grain also has diamond mines.
We don't want your damn Canadian diamonds. We got enough diamonds.
Oh, they're better diamonds than those blood diamonds you guys been buying.
We make industrial diamonds. We don't need no blood diamonds either. No, we'll take that piece of Canada. Do we call it New Canada, like we did New Mexico?
Yeah, you can call it whatever. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, call it anything you want. Just give us a Second Amendment, and I'm happy.
It should be like North New Mexico or North New Canada and South New Canada, just so that there's a whole bunch of extra, that. Or put it into 4, and then it can be Northeast New Canada and Southwest New Canada.
Well, yeah.
It is funny though the difference in the border between Canada and Mexico. In Mexico, there's walls and fences and checkpoints and all this stuff. You go up to Canada, there's 100-yard strip of trees that they cleared out to let you know that you crossed into Canada.
Yeah, I've been to both and all over the place. And back in the olden days, I've been to Canada. And you just look in some old movies when they go to Canada, where's that place called? Niagara Falls, or one of the big entries to Canada. They had all that shit, the searches and the guard gates and the whatever you call all the car, the same kind of stuff you see going into Mexico. I've seen that over in Canada, in Vancouver. Is that what it's called? The mainland part.
Toronto.
Toronto, and then they've got a bunch of, what do you call it, customs, I guess, the quarantine areas for dogs and stuff, because I was going to bring my cat up into Canada. It was a pain in the ass. So I just, I got to go see all that, and that was back in the olden days, way before any kind of terrorist shit. And so if it was a big population center, it had a big border crossing, is all I'm saying. And then I've been to places like you're saying in Canada where there was just half the lake was in Canada and half the lake wasn't. So if you went out into the lake with a boat, there's no line in the middle of that lake. You could just go to Canada, go fishing or whatever, and you're in Canada. And then I've been to places going to Mexico, just walking around hunting, where you're like, oh, here's a fence. And then you look on a map and you're like, oh, dang, the other side of that fence. I'm not talking a giant fence. I'm talking barbed wire strung between pieces of wood. You're like, oh, the other side of that fence is Mexico. And then you look and there's an international border thing stuck into the ground every once in a while. So that was since I've lived out here. I mean, it might be a little bit improved now, but there's definitely chunks of the Mexican border where the international border where it's just a barbed wire fence. If it's out in the middle of nowhere and it's not a drug area or mainly just the drug areas. If it's not one of those areas, they don't make a big deal about the border. There's nobody out there. So I'm just saying, it's not like Canada and Mexico are different. I think it's about population and remoteness. If you go to a remote enough area, international borders are just, they're not huge barriers. Bob's talked about places in Montana where people forget where the international border is.
Yeah, I've been up there to Glacier National Park, man. It's beautiful up there.
Yeah, I've been on some cattle ranches that, it spans the border. So, it's herd cattle. There's no fence or nothing. These ones are in America now, and now they're over in Canada. Now they're back in America.
And Skip jumped in. Welcome. We're just been, I don't know where we got into the border thing. I guess you're saying the Canadian ones were so much more open. I'm sure driving, though, you don't get any. Well, I don't know. When you go back and forth between Canada, Bob, they don't search every car or nothing. They're not.
Oh, hell no. They don't search anything. Well, at least none of the times I've gone through.
I mean, they don't search every car going in and out of Mexico either. They just do it if they, I don't know, feel like it or probably randomly. I don't know.
When I was younger, there was a lot of dirt roads I knew that would take you right into the States because I only lived like 100 miles from the border. So. They're just on like logging roads and fire roads, riding your dirt bike along and all of a sudden realize, oh, wait, that's Minot over there.
Well, why don't we go back to the calendar thing? Chris earlier saying that he enjoys the calendar thing or something like that. And that's one of the things I was kind of talking with Bob earlier is going forward into 2020 as I look at what projects I'm going to be working on. I think that as, going forward with the election, the national election, that'll kind of be the, I don't know what to call it, the waypoint or the transition, I guess, between our grandparents and our children's generations. They'll kind of pass the baton of political influence off from the older generations to the newer generations. I don't think that our generation or me personally is going to be able to appeal to whatever the new kids are down with, looking for. So as we get into education, I'm just going to be going into more of an education role or whatever, like offering information instead of trying to facilitate conversation so much. And in that respect, one of the things I'm looking at is the history thing to keep history alive and aware. So with that, like I was kind of mentioned it before when we first started the show, today's calendar thing is the anniversary of the USO being founded in 1941. I think somebody had sent something about it here, but I don't know if that gives us anything to spin off on as far as a topic. USO being the United Services Organization, the people that bring like actors and singers and musicians and I don't know, models and spokespeople or whatever, comedians to overseas to entertain troops, give them some morale.
Well, I can tell you in World War II, that's one thing my dad said was because he was stationed right on the border between, I think, Detroit and Hull or whatever. But at night, they would always go to the USO clubs in Detroit because they always had really good music and musicians and actresses and all these girls and everything, and there was booze. And in Canada, all they had was like Salvation Army women with donuts. So, yeah, apparently the USO was real popular with other troops as well.
Again, it sucks to be Canadian, hey? Sorry.
That is where we got our love for donuts, though.
Wasn't that what Jane Fonda got in trouble with because she was like there was part of the USO during the Vietnam War and like took some pictures like sitting on top of like a Viet Cong like rocket or something like that?
No,
Yeah, she wasn't with the USO though.
she
She
was
was
at the
doing
USO though. The USO is government. It's like, I mean, it's not like, I mean, maybe it is propaganda. I guess it depends on how you look at it, but I don't think it's a government organization. It's nonprofit, but it's certainly like pro USA. And I think what she was with was more like, I mean, I'm trying to remember, but I'm looking it up right now. I just don't think it was USO. I think it was more like Life magazine or just some entity. It wasn't.
Right. Yeah, I don't really remember particularly. I just knew.
Yeah. I think it was a bunch of Democratic senators that were over there to say how bad America was. Kind of like today. I mean, basically.
Huh.
But she was a star power, eh? Well, nowadays the USOs, I guess they're really popular guys are guys like comics, right? If they can get Larry the Cable Guy and those kind of guys, they just love them. Jeff Foxworthy, he's done quite a few USO tours, I think. That guy is so funny. If you,
Something that I really like about the USO is the fact that they have the places in the airport that service members can utilize for free. And there's been times where I've been in an airport for 24 hours and sometimes you want to take a shower, you want to actually sit down somewhere and relax, and they allow for you and your family to come in.
That's cool. Now, I think that you brought that up. When I do the calendar things, a lot of times it's just like a placeholder or like, oh, that would be interesting to know more about it because I know I'm just scratching the surface. And that's how I felt like with the USO because I know it's more, I knew it was more than just the, whatever you want to call like the concerts or the events that they do. Because I thought I'd remember something like that. They do something to comfort families or to facilitate families. Is it them where if somebody gets injured, like really bad, and let's say somebody's someplace really remote, they get hurt, they're going to be pulled to a hospital, and often that hospital isn't all the way back here. Like they're not stable enough to get here, or we're not the experts in something. So let's say they go to Germany or they go to like Italy for something. Isn't USO like bring the wife over there? Something like that?
I'm not sure if it's particularly the USO that does that, but I know the USO does a lot for morale.
Yeah, like I say, I'm trying to recollect too, but I know they do more than just the concerts. They do some other stuff that facilitates comfort in different ways, and in a way that's not like our tax dollars having to deal with it, which, you know, a lot of people wouldn't have a problem with that. But on the other hand, you know, it's just, it's a civic thing, right? It's not, you know, it's not like the Marines are putting in. It's not like the Air Force is putting in. It's just individuals putting in.
Yeah, and a lot of the individuals that are there, they're like older individuals who are just volunteering their time.
You know, for a while there, you were talking about the comedians and stuff, but I'm trying to think, it was before, where the hell would they have been? It was just, I guess it was just like back during the Cold War, you'd see like, you know, a Christmas thing or a Thanksgiving thing. And it wasn't like we were actually in some, whatever you want to call like, you know, any kind of action really. It was just that people were stationed someplace, you know, during the holidays. And then you'd have like the USO show televised. And this, I'm thinking back to like TV days before there was even cable. But weren't some of those just, you know, the USO Thanksgiving special? And it wasn't like we were at war. It was just that, you know, it was something like, say, the different actors or comedians would be there, singers, and it was like a TV event that everybody got to see, including whoever was actually there.
like, didn't Bob Hope do USO tours until he was in his 80s or something? So he must have been out there when nothing was going on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I'm thinking of, right? Like they just kept doing that through peacetime, I guess you'd call it, or Cold War time.
Yeah, they do a lot of stuff, and I don't think a lot of people realize it because some of the things aren't really televised nowadays. But just taking individuals over into those either the deployed locations or the remote locations where they don't really get a lot of the niceties that everyone else gets. And it just brings that good morale back to the area.
I guess since we got the power of the internet here, what am I doing? Scaring
I got the power.
Share the right screen here. Share this.
Sorry, I'm sick. That's as good as I could do.
That was actually pretty good.
So this is their website, and since we got the power of the internet, we can share that. So, and I think one of the things that I've also recollect about USO is that like 90% of their donation goes to USO. Like Skip said, so many of the people that deal with it or are part of it are definitely doing it out of volunteer, that there's just not a lot of overhead, and so that all the money goes to where it's supposed to go. So it looks like they got transitioning troops, deployed troops, military families, wounded, and then families of the fallen. Their main bullet points there. 3-star rating from this Navigator place, which I'm guessing is a watchdog group. I was looking for like an About Us or something like that. I guess they don't have a really fancy website here. These aren't even buttons. So I guess it's pretty no frills. Let me see if I can find.
What was that guy who was in the House of Representatives who was like a comedian before, who had to resign because he was part of the USO and had some controversy on the flight back? What was his
I don't
name?
remember that.
Oh, hold on. I don't know if it was part of the USO when he was over there, but he was traveling over to Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff
Al
to
Franken.
entertain the troops. Yeah, Al Franken. That's totally it.
Oh, Al Franken. Well, he's an asshole. He was being like sexually weird to some lady when she was sleeping.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, well, that wasn't a big deal because she was sleeping." Like, okay, great. It didn't really bother her because she was sleeping. I guess they don't have a lot of stuff on their site, so I'm going to go back to.
If you go to uso.org/about, they have an about section.
Okay. I was stuck in some sort of donation thing there. Here we go. So it says 79 years. USO's been leading the organization to serve men and women throughout their time in the uniform, from the moment they join through their assignments and deployments, and as they transition back into their communities. I guess I do remember even seeing some stuff going into MEPS and stuff with USO, and that's something that people don't think about very often. But when you're a little kid, wide-eyed and I don't know, super enthusiastic, having some people around who are just there to give you a little friendly advice and direction. Imagine some of the USO might have been some of that, because I never even thought about who all was be involved. When you're a little kid, you're not thinking about that. You're just.
Dude, I used to work for a hotel that part of one of the things that they did was take kids who were joining the military, the MEPS program. You know, they would come and stay the night at the hotel, and then like they'd have a bus that came and pick them up at like 4:30 in the morning or whatever, and take them off to go do their medical testing and all that stuff.
Yep.
So we would see like every week there'd be like a group of like 50 to 100 kids at the hotel. And the funny thing was, like, I was the bartender there, right? And these people, like, they're not supposed to drink because they have like these like medical exams the next day, and they're not supposed to drink, but like a bunch of them would always come to the bar and drink, and I would just pretend that I don't know you're here with the military. Yeah, how's it going, man? I don't know. It was kind of like surreal though, because like a lot of them were going off to do some pretty real stuff at that time, with what was going on overseas. So I always try to treat them with as much respect as I could, even if you didn't always get it back.
Yeah, no, I totally know what you're talking about. When we went to MEPS, it was the same way. I don't remember why anymore, but yeah, we went to some hotel, and yeah, it was a weird time. So a whole bunch of kids getting ready to go in, and it was all branches, so just a bunch of kids, and you didn't know, you weren't all with whoever. It was just whatever room they gave you, kind of thing. So yeah, there was a lot of, I don't know what to call it, like sitting around and nervous chatting because nobody was sleepy.
Right.
So we didn't think there was no bar or nothing in the place we were at, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we were supposed to not serve any of them, but like if I didn't know, I didn't know. You know what I mean? So.
Well, and I don't know. It has to be the same now, I suppose. When I was going in, it's not like it's all just young kids. There's definitely people who are like 25 or 30 and decide, I'm going to go into the military. So
Right.
they're going in as zero with a bunch of 18-year-old kids. But yeah, they've been around the block. They know that if they're going to go down there and have a beer, nobody's going to really care. When you're 18 and they tell you don't get to go have a beer, you're like, oh, I'm definitely not going to go have a beer. They're watching me. Or like, they'll know.
I wonder if I could still pass like the physical examinations at 38.
Well, if it's anything like it used to be, you just have to like walk up and down a step or something like 10 times. Like you just had to not be physically ill. Like you didn't have to be in great shape. You just had to not be out of shape.
Okay.
You had to, like lift up 100 pounds or something over your head. And because they assumed you were going to go to basic and get strong, like you just had to be able to have full range of motion, not have any bone issues. It wasn't a physical test really. And you couldn't be deaf, that kind of thing. Like you had to
What?
have some level of eyesight or whatever. Yeah, exactly. But I remember, like those tests weren't like sometimes you see those things where, oh, like you got such and such hearing or eyesight, you get to be a pilot or whatever. Like, I don't think they were like that. They were just like pass, fail. Like you can either hear or you can't. I don't know. Maybe they kept track of like, if you can hear good, then you can have some job where you have to listen to stuff. But it didn't seem like that because you'd always hear stories of like somebody that got stuck in some job where they had to listen well, but they couldn't hear very good.
Right.
But all right, I think I'm still screen sharing. So it says that just prior to the onset of World War II in 1941, which you just talked about, Roosevelt sought to unite several service organizations into one. And I guess that's where the USO part comes from. So those entities were the Salvation Army, the YMCA, YWCA, National Catholic Community Services, National Travelers Aid Association, and National Jewish Welfare Board. And they all became the United Service Organizations, or the USO. That's interesting. So obviously those entities all still exist, but I guess their support of the military, those focuses all went through one. And it probably makes sense to be more efficient, right? So that they're not duplicating effort or causing clogs in mail or something just to get the same guy 3 rolls of toilet paper when they could have just gave 3 different dudes a roll of toilet paper or something.
And I've got that song stuck in my head now. The YMCA. What happened to Rush Limbaugh today?
No idea. I was just thinking about that though the other day when I was going into my gym. I went in, it was super cold. Well, when I got ran out of that one in Denver.
Yeah.
So I have only been run out of gyms ever. No, I only ever gotten run out of my gym once, like the parking lot of my gym once ever. And that was in front of Honda's place one time in Denver. But ever since then, it's because it happened fairly recently and it's only happened the one time. I've thought about it, and I was at what happened to Bob? I was at, I guess I was in Albuquerque. Oh, Bob had to go do something, I guess. I think it was up in Albuquerque or Santa Fe, and I go in. It's super cold in the middle of the night because I usually go into the gym in the middle of the night, and there was like. I went to go to the robot massage bed thing. I go, and that's in like a little separate area because the regular gym people can't go in there. You have to be a deluxe gym member to even go in there. So I go into the doors. Usually it's empty because I go in the middle of the night. was like 8 people in there sleeping, just laying all around on the chairs, and I'm like, dang, like I didn't know I could come in here and sleep. That's, I was cold out in the van. Like I could have come in here and slept, especially if I could have slept on like a massage bed. But they weren't sleeping on the beds. They were just in like these chairs. I guess if it gets real busy or you just want to sit there and watch TV at your gym for some reason, they have these extra chairs laying around. So then I go in and lay on the robot bed for a little while. I get up and I leave, and the people had shuffled around and they weren't all there anymore. And then I'm walking out, and then there's like these chairs out front that I always just assume were there for like, you're going to jog with your friend. So you're waiting for your friend to show up, and then you're not going to sit in those chairs very long. But there was some guy like all set up with like his coffee and like breakfast and his laptop and stuff. And I'm like, dang, this guy is like all, he's going to be sitting here for a while doing work or whatever. And then I was thinking, this place isn't so much like a gym as it's like the YMCA. That's where I was getting all this, is that, even though it's Planet Fitness or whatever, it's more like a YMCA, because the YMCA's back in the day, you'd go in there and there'd be like, a pottery class going on, or, kids learning Taekwondo or something. Like there was all kinds of stuff happening at the YMCA all the time besides just swimming or, sports or something. And I was thinking that, these gyms that have the, you join the gym and you can go to any of them type of membership. It's almost like just being in the YMCA or something. Like, I could probably start dragging the laptop in there and, doing my video editing in the that front area, whatever you want to call like the waiting room equivalent.
Yeah, I mean, you just like, hey, I'm waiting for a buddy. Mind if I sit here and work on this for a while?
Well, no, I'm getting the idea that they don't even care. You probably just be like, hey, I'm going to sit here for half an hour. Okay. Like a Starbucks or something, like, what do they care? You already paid your membership fee. Anyway, so we're kind of going off track all over the place, but the USO is today. So in February, 41. So I guess that makes it 79 years. And yeah, whatever. That's one of the reasons we talk about history stuff, is so that we get an opportunity to go back and look at stuff we might not normally focus on. Why on earth were you run out of the gym? No, I was run out of the parking lot. I got to, what did I do? I went from Tulsa. I was in Tulsa at the gun show, and it was going to be the last tour at Dragon Man's for the season. And that was Monday. And it was a special one because it was Memorial Day or something. So I thought Dragon Man's last tour was Sunday, and there was no way I was going to be able to do it. But it was going to be, his last tour was going to be Monday. And he had just had like 200 people show up on Sunday. So he was going to like do this extra Memorial Day tour, and it was like free for vets. So I was like, well, shit, I'm going. Like, that sounds cool. Plus, why not? I'm already, I just driven all the way to the rally in Virginia, in Washington, D.C. So I was like, this would be a cool way to end it. So I had driven from Tulsa to Dragon Man's. That was 17 hours worth of driving. No, it was 10 hours worth of driving. I drove it in 17 hours. So for me, that's a long haul. I didn't feel like driving that. I'd already driven for like the last month. So I wasn't really down with driving that long of a haul, but I did. So I was super tired. I went to Dragon Man's and I was exhausted. So then I think I got halfway between, I got about halfway between Dragon Man's and Honda's, and I just fell asleep for a little while. And that got me to like, 3 p.m. or something. And then I drove to Denver, and I was going to go to the gym to take a shower because I hadn't taken a shower in like 3 days. And instead of taking a shower, I fell asleep in the parking lot of the gym. So I fell asleep at like evening, right? 5 o'clock or something. And this guy woke me up at 9 or something. So I was like, it was just a weird time to be asleep in the gym parking lot, I think. And it was cold. So it was very obvious that I was asleep inside of there. Like the windows had fogged up from the inside because it was so cold up there. So, I mean, I can understand the guy just getting me out of there, I guess. Denver has a lot of vagrants, and this was a gym right off of the highway. And I just looked like some guy who had just pulled off the highway and was sleeping in a parking lot. I guess you're supposed to put a sticker on your vehicle if you're a member of the gym, but I don't like putting stickers on my van. But anyway, so I'm not complaining too bad. It was the only time it ever happened, and it was weird circumstances, and I definitely hadn't even planned it. I literally just went in the back of the van to get my gym bag.
Didn't it happen to you at the Walmart parking lot too?
Well, but then what happened is that was, let's say 5 or 6 o'clock or whatever. The guy yells at me, "Get out of there." So I'm not going to yell, I'm not going to have a fight with the guy. I'm like, fine, I'm leaving. Plus you had said I could sleep in front of your house. So I was like, I don't care. I'm leaving. Right. So I leave and then went to your house and he's like, here's Honda. Yeah. Sleep in front of my house. It's no big deal. It's empty. And I go to Honda's house and there's like a million cars everywhere. There's like in front of the mailbox, there's like a half a spot where like with a motorcycle, you could have parked there. So I was like, maybe I got the wrong address, but it's like 2 a.m. now. So nothing I can do. Like, I'm not going to bother him this late. So that's when I went to that Walmart. So I figure what happened was that first guy maybe put out all APB like, hey, there's some guy in a white van who's going to try to sleep in parking lot. So then I go to some Walmart, the only Walmart that's 24/7, because Denver's one of those places that doesn't have 24-hour Walmarts. And
Because of thieves.
thieves. Oh, you mean people that go into the Walmart to steal?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I got nabbed and it was in Colorado. The only time I ever been like bothered in Colorado, I go in there and I buy a thing of water, like one of them giant things, like 48 bottles of water. That's all I bought because I was out of water. I'm walking out of the Walmart with this thing of water and they're like, "You got a receipt?" I'm like, who the fuck walks out with a giant thing of water? Who's got the balls and and it's like $3. Like, who needs to steal $3 worth of water? Like, oh, I need to have convenient water so bad that I'm going to go steal it from Walmart.
Dude, this state's gotten pretty bad recently.
But yeah, so
It's a lot different than it was 7-8 years ago, you know?
I bitched about that on Instagram whenever it happened. That was years ago now, it seems like. But whenever I did that, said like, what the hell? The Walmart thinks I'm stealing water. Everybody was like, yeah, that's like the number one thing that's stolen at Walmart. That's why they put it in the back of the store. I'm like, oh, I had no idea. I mean, you'd think it would be like,
why would you steal bottles of, it's like $2 for like 50 waters.
it's like $9 for 3 of those things. Exactly. Like, it's like the cheapest, dumbest. You can go to any hose and get water.
And it's like the most bulky, like awkward thing to try to like hide if you're stealing it, you know? Like, it's like the biggest, most expensive, heaviest, cheapest thing that you could steal.
Yeah, it's like free outside if you go to the spigot. Go to jail if you try to steal some clean stuff out of a bottle. I would have thought it'd be like meat or booze or cigarettes, right? Something you can sell on the streets.
Well, like going to the Walmart anymore is becoming more and more of a pain in the ass because everything's behind freaking glass, dude. So like, you're like, hey, I need some like razors for my face because I'd like to shave it. Oh, can't get it unless I get an employee. Oh, okay, like I need this thing. Oh, can't get that. Oh, power tool. Nope, can't get that. Like, damn it, dude. Can I just have an employee like follow me around and like unlock shit for me while I'm shopping? Because that's about where it's gotten to, you know?
I got a, I don't know, I'm an idiot. I drive all the way to Santa Fe, and I poke at my, what do you call it? I went to connect to my dash cam to delete the stuff that was on it so I'd have a nice fresh set of images for the drive up there or whatever. And I guess I did something wrong because I thought that my dash cam didn't have an SD card in it. And I fiddled my finger up there and I'm like, no, okay, there's no SD card in there, right? But I didn't take it out and actually look at it. I just fiddled with it and I thought I couldn't feel an SD card. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. I was going to go to a pawn shop because I was going to go to these gun shops anyway. So I can't find a pawn shop anywhere that has an SD card. And I just haven't bought an SD card in a while. It turns out the reason nobody has an SD card at a pawn shop is because they're worth like $10. So nobody's going to pawn them, right? So like a really good SD card now is $30. Like a decent one is $12 at Walmart, like not even going online. So, oh crap, I'll just go to Walmart. So I go to a Walmart and like you're saying, everything's like stapled to the wall. Like you have to have a person come over. And then I'm like, can I pay for this up front or do I have to pay for it back here? I got out to the van and it's like, they put all this stuff. It's like stapled to the wall. You got to have a person. Like if I would have had a razor blade, you barely touch the plastic and the little SD card. You know how small SD card is? And the way it is on the little, I don't know what they call that, plastic card or whatever it is that it's on. If you'd have just touched it with a razor blade, it just falls off into your hand. I'm like, all of that effort, if someone really wanted these, they could take a razor blade and pick off every SD card in that store, have them all in the palm of their hand, and walk out, and they would have never probably even known that it happened. Like It's like a lot of effort for nothing, really.
When I was a kid, like 6, 7 years old, my mom used to take me to the store with her while she would do her shopping, and I would get to go like look at the magazine aisle or like look at the stickers or whatever they had. And one day when we were there, I found that the thing of stickers would give you a free sticker if you just push the thing in and take it out. Like you put like 50 cents in and you push the thing in, and then you pull it out, and then you get like 4 stickers on a piece of paper.
Right.
So yeah, I would just you just kind of move it in and out a little bit, and then a sticker would come out. And so I did that like 20 times, dude. I got like 20 of these stickers, and we get home, and I'm putting them on my dresser, I'm putting them on my wall, and like all over the place. And my mom comes to my room, and she's like, "Where did you get all these stickers from?" And I was like, "Oh, Mom, it's the coolest thing. Like you just push the thing in and take it out, and it just gives you free ones over and over again." I was in trouble. Oh my God. She took me back to the store, like called the general manager, right? Had him meet us there. And I had to tearingly apologize to the general manager of like Safeway or whatever and return the stickers that I hadn't used and pay for the ones that I had like ruined by taking them out. That's the thing that kids are missing these days, I think.
Well, that's an individual thing. I didn't get a free thing out of like that. I remember, I don't remember the circumstances, but something happened, and I got back from the store with my mom, and same kind of thing. Like, where'd you get that? Like, oh, I got it at the store. It was free. Like, no, that wasn't free. And I had to go back and apologize and all this. And I don't remember what it was. I didn't think I was stealing it though.
Yeah, well, neither did I. Like, that was.
I think it was like, you know how they open up something sometimes to show you what's in the boxes or something like that. And I was a little kid, so I thought it was like, oh, it wasn't in a box, so it was free, or like it was a sample or something. But yeah, that's just a parent's thing. If a parent, whatever, takes the time to embarrass the kid or whatever, give them that shock or whatever. And then I guess it's part of the store too. If the store plays along and gives them the.
I think with like a little kid, he's stealing stickers. You're not gonna like be like, all right, like as soon as they get here,
Well,
call the police.
Whatever
You
the
know,
parent is doing, and be appropriate or whatever. So like,
but then again, it's 2020. You never know. Like you could call and be like, yeah, my son stole something. We're bringing. Can I talk to the manager? Bring him back. They'd be like, yeah, come on in, Mr. Johnson or whatever. And then, sure enough, the police are waiting there, and you got a juvenile delinquent for a child now instead of just a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, if there's some sort of crazy, like, what do they call it? No strike thing or
Zero tolerance policy.
thing, yeah, then you could be in trouble, I guess.
I don't know, man. Like some people like look past the meaning of the rule and go by the letter of the law. You know what I mean? Like rather than the spirit of the law, they go by the letter of the law. So when someone's like innocently making a mistake and trying to, pay for it or whatever, they're like, nope, you broke the law. This is the law. Da 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 da. I don't agree with that. Like you need to have a little bit of compassion and what's the word I'm looking for? Like break things down for each individual. Like you can't have like one law for one rule works for everybody. You got a case by case basis, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not like a filter, but I know what you're saying. Like discretion, I guess.
Yeah, but some people out there just don't do that. I don't know why.
I'm sure that you guys have talked about this already, but G-Webs, did you get sick after SHOT?
Oh, we haven't really talked about it. I haven't done many shows since. So this year I got a little something. So I didn't get like knocked out. And the thing is, I didn't have much to do. So if I would have had to, I don't know, do something or go somewhere, I might have like felt it more. But since I didn't have to do much except work on the computer, I only had like whatever you call like when you have like a not even a cough, but just like I could cough up some phlegm and spit it out every once in a while, like maybe 3 times a day. So I knew there was something going on. I got barely a touch of it, but like I wasn't incapacitated. But like I say, if I would have had to gone and done something, I would have called in sick. I would have tried to not do it because it was
right on the line, and I'm guessing that was from shot. It's possible it just happened to get sick or something also, but I'm guessing it was from shot. Did you get sick?
No, I didn't get sick at all. And I was super excited because last year I got really sick. And when I came back from shot, I only had 1 day off and then I had to go back to work. So that made for a pleasant trip back to work.
That happens to a ton of people, especially when you come from work. So you don't get a real time to decompress or nothing. Then you go straight to shot, which is not, free time. It's probably overtime, more work than people are used to. And then if you don't get time to really recover, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on day 3 of the Wuhan flu, the Kung flu. I don't know that it's that, but I'm calling it that.
No, so we get it from being in that big room,
but you had to fly, right? So I really think that a lot of times when people get something from shot, it's from the flying, like the airport or the plane probably. And then maybe hotels and restaurants, in Vegas, I guess. But we all go to hotels and restaurants, or not hotels, but we all go to restaurants, right? We all go out to stores and stuff. But I think the planes is what really does it, because I guess I don't have enough data. I've never really thought about it enough to write it down or nothing, or think about it, try to remember it. But like this year, the people from Tucson, the gun websites people, we went up in separate cars. So Joe and Auntie went up in their car and I went up in my car separate with just the dog. And I didn't get sick. But when me and Joe go up in the same car, if one of us is sick, we're both sick. So I think we've got more odds of getting sick when we're both coming back for 8 hours coughing on each other. Because if one of us is sick, we're both sick out of that end of that car ride. So, I think there's just more percentage. If you get on an airplane and you're not sick and you get off 3 hours later coughing on everybody, or everybody coughing on you, I think you got more percentage of getting sick. But that's just one of my theories on it.
Yeah, I didn't get sick and I flew and I took a lot of vitamin C this year though.
Well, that's the other thing too, is how healthy somebody is going into it. Because you've seen the range of people. I mean, we're all human. So some of us are like young and in shape and others are old and in shape or not. And then there's everything in between. So if you're healthy going into it, you're not getting sick. But then on the other hand, we've had guys that were as healthy can be and just got plowed with it. Like they're just one year, one of the dudes, Lefty, he might have even been sick on the way up there. So it might not have been the SHOT Show thing, but he was literally from the first day, he didn't leave the hotel room until we got home. And then he didn't come back to work for days. Like he was just gone for the entire time. And he was relatively healthy. But I think for the most part, if you're healthy, and then like you say, with the immune stuff, doing some kind of a regimen.
I don't know. Every time I get on an airplane, I feel like it's like I'm trapped inside of a beaker with everyone's germs and I'm just breathing it in. Like, I don't know if you can bring like a mask with you and it's cool, or they're going to think you're a terrorist or something, but yeah.
I don't think they care. You see people from Asia and stuff wearing masks is just sort of a thing.
Yeah, but those don't really help you that much, do they?
I don't think they do, but I mean, I don't think they care if you wear. I mean, if you wear a nicer one, I've seen people that wear like a piece of cloth almost, like it's more like a part of clothing. They might have something more disposable underneath of it, but they don't want to just look like they've got a hospital thing on, so they wear like a nicer thing.
But then again, I don't want to walk through life being like afraid of everything either. Like, oh no, I'm gonna get sick from an airplane. Like, no, just get on the airplane.
A couple of times. Well, even just going up to Santa Fe the other day, and I went to all these different gun shops and stuff, going into a Walmart a couple of times. You see like a little lady with like a mask on, and I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't mind if I had a mask. I wouldn't mind wearing it, especially as like you're walking past some kid that's coughing, that's just got some little kid kindergarten disease, but still, you just walk through the same like 6 foot of air that kid did coughing.
Yeah, well, my problem is twofold. I've got where I work and how many people I deal with there on a daily basis, and then having 2 kids and then coming back and sneezing and coughing and hugging and stuff, like.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then compared to like me, I'm spending 99% of my time sitting in front of a computer. At the most, I go to a store or something. Like I hardly ever
talk to people or whatever in real life. So I would think I'd be more susceptible, like at a factor of 10, right?
Well, and that's the thing. Like most of the time, like the kids will get sick and I don't. Like people at work will get sick and I don't. And then every now and again, like right now, something comes along and like kicks me in the back of the throat. Ugh, it hurts.
Yep, Chris is. Oh, I keep forgetting to do this. This is the one good part about the StreamYard. I would normally use well, I like StreamYard. I would normally use GunTube because it's better, but this is the one thing I like about one of the biggest things I like about StreamYard. I like the fact you can use it from the phone, just about as good. And if I did this more, I'd like it even more. But I like that you can throw comments up there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I always forget you can do that too.
But yeah, Chris, here's the thing. I'll send you as many as I can off of that list. I'm pretty sure I already printed everybody's address labels. So if I sent yours, let me see what you got. I guess it also depends on what you got and how heavy it would have been. But anyway, I set most of them for for yours, I don't remember. Anyway, I set most of them like 2-3 ounces heavier than what you purchased. If that makes sense, so that I could put some stuff in there. So I'll put enough stuff in there that it gets to whatever weight. So in other words, if you asked for 5, I might only send you 4 if I put in there like 6 ounces, and the extra patch would make it 6.5 and it would get returned. I don't want to have to print another label is all I'm saying.
Oh, by the way, I was checking my my PayPal earlier tonight, and I was like, "What is AZ23?
13.
13? Okay, that's what it was." And then I was like, "Oh yeah, $7.62, 762. I know who that's going to."
It canceled it though, right?
No, I didn't cancel it.
No, it should have canceled.
Yeah,
I canceled all those the other day. That's the gun channels thing. Oh, unless you bought some. No, that would have been, if it was AZ13, it would have been gun channels. But anyway, all it was a thing on the 29th telling you that it was canceled. I shut all the things down, all the recurring subscriptions down. But yeah, it hasn't charged anybody. So there are no more to be charged. So yeah, if it's charging something to now, then go turn it off because it's not giving it to me.
yeah. Let me look.
But it's probably the thing on the 29th that you're looking at that said it was canceled. Because I canceled them from my end.
Oh yeah, it is negative. Well, negative means it charged me, right?
No, it's just that's the thing about PayPal. And one of the reasons I should have never set it up the way I did is that they'll do that as an indicator of a transaction or like an action that happened. It wasn't a transaction, it was just like an action happened. So if you look at the right, what do we call it, like activity feed on PayPal, you probably have like 3 because I turned it off. Like 1 that says a thing happened, 2 that, second one that says, confirms it or something. I don't want to try to understand their system. But whenever a transaction happens in PayPal, it actually shows up in their downloadable list of transactions like 3 times. And it has something to do with your ongoing balance and then the actual transaction and then the receipt of a transaction.
Yeah, I don't know.
So anyway, Chris was saying goodnight, and that's what I was putting that thing up on the screen there. Yeah, this one has been an odd show. I wanted to do the show to get some of them patches out to people, and Chris replied to my email, and no one else did. And I've had the posts up now for a couple of days over on Patreon to offer the people at the various Patreon levels some of the first dibs on some of the more unique or special patches from SHOT. So I think what I'll do, there's no urgency on those. I'll just not send them stuff until they reply to me. But everybody else who ordered stuff over the weekend, I'll just throw in some random stuff. What I'll probably do instead of trying to do it live is I'll just turn the camera on and stuff those envelopes in a video and then post that video, and then people will just get some random stuff. And if it's not something they're interested in, they can trade it or whatever, or gift it or whatever. And then
mainly I can get my table back. So it's kind of impressive having all those patches and things out, but it's taking up my every bit of horizontal space I have in the house.
Clover was telling me that you got a good bit of swag.
Yeah, I went around on Monday because there was so many people from gun channels and they all sort of had different ambitions or whatever going into SHOT. So I keep calling it Monday. On Tuesday, the first day of SHOT, I knew that I wanted to go around and, kind of see the show. I usually either walk the entire show or don't show up early. I either show up really early on the first day or I don't show up early because I figure the people that are showing up early are like gung-ho. So if I'm going to be gung-ho that year, I'm going to join them. But if I'm not going to be gung-ho, then I'll just show up at like 10 or 11 on the first day and let all the people that are gung-ho have the show to themselves. But I was parked in the basement of the place since 5 a.m. So it was nothing to get up there and be there at 7:30. So I was there early. So I was there when the doors opened. And like I say, everybody had everybody was going in different directions. So I was like, well, what can I do? No one asked for any help or nothing. So what can I do to, do something? And I was like, I haven't really done anything at SHOT for a while. So I was planning on doing some videos and I hadn't done those for a while, but I figured, well, I'm going to go get some patches this year. And if you're going to get patches, you need to go do it on the first day, before they're gone. So I started going around and then I walked 4 miles basically. And I was like, holy crap, I can't even put any more patches into this giant bag I'm carrying around. They're like falling. And I'm like, well, shit. So I just did like 4 miles in whatever, 2-3 hours or something. And, I have more patches than I can even carry anymore. And that was without trading. That was just picking up ones. So I was like, well, shit, I'm going to go use this because this is interesting. Like this isn't, I didn't try to do this. I'd never done that before. So I'm going to use this as a way to get attention to Maj's event. He had that event from 2 to 3 from 2:30 to 4:30. So I figured, well, shit, I'm going to go do a quick video and then use that to promote Maj's event today. Because, if this thing goes viral, like, oh, look at how many patches this guy got, in the first 3 hours of SHOT, at the bottom of that video, it's going to say, now here, let's go to Maj's event tonight or this afternoon. So I went out and filmed like a 1-hour video. It took me an hour to unpack that bag and put out all the patches. And then I got screwed because it took an hour and 45 minutes to upload the damn video. So it finished uploading like 15 minutes after Maj started. So it really didn't work as like what would you call it? Like an invitation or like a heads up. It just ended up like reinforcing the fact that the thing was happening right then. But anyway, so then after I had all those, I was like, well, shit. Let's see. How there was like a couple of the patch panels where you could put your patch up and they would give you one, like in return. So I had done that. So I go around on Tuesday with like the intention of, I'm going to go get some more patches because I got a shit ton of patches. It was pretty easy. I guess after 15 years, I know everybody that has patches, right? So I can just walk past all the people who I know don't, and I can just go to the places I knew had them, and I was, getting a bunch of patches. But what had happened is I put out the AK patches, the big ass AK-47 patches I had made, those patch panels, and people were freaking out like, where do I get one of those AK patches? So it turned into more of a trading event than just collection. So the first day I just went around and picked up like manufacturers' patches or, from places I knew would have a limited number of them or something, to trading the AKs for rare ones or people that created their own or, I don't know, a pile of them or stuff like that. So it turned into more of a trading thing. And once I was trading, then it was like, oh shit, now I'm definitely having more patches than
There you go.
collected in 1 year.
AK patches.
Yeah, I have to say that's probably one of my favorites from SHOT this year.
Yeah, like I say, I did that as just a way to do a large patch or whatever. It was neat. But I never really had got into, I'm aware of the concept that there's a lot of people that like trade patches or whatever, but I never like got into it, mainly because I never had one that people wanted, and I never went there with them to like try to do that. This year I just had them, and I was like, oh well, there's these patch trade walls. Why don't I give them one of my AKs? And then I was like, well, here, stick it way up high so nobody steals it. So they were there. You know, like sometimes you put a really nice patch up, and if you don't put it somewhere where it gets kind of watched or whatever, then somebody will just come by and grab it. You know, so there was a cool patch there for 15 minutes, but then it wasn't. So I stuck mine way up at the top of the patch boards where nobody could grab them, and you know they'd stay there all day.
Where only you can reach them.
Well, I had to throw them up to some of them. Yeah, like they know to make these things high enough that people can't just come by and grab them, because people will. Sometimes it's not a malicious thing. Like there's so many people that shot. I mean, I always make fun of them, but people in different countries, they have different ways of doing things. Like they just, you know, what's a sample in our country is like a different custom to them. So they just think things sometimes are different than they are. In other words, they'll come up and take something that I don't think they're trying to steal it. They just don't realize that's not a sample, or that that's something else going on than just a sample, you know, just a free handout or whatever.
You see Gun Liberty Garrett drop $20 on you there. That's pretty cool, man.
Oh yeah, appreciate that. They don't really show up as a thing when I watch them through the StreamYard here. So that's another, I guess, difference with StreamYard. But yeah, well, I always say it. I mean, I appreciate it, but if you are planning on supporting people that way, it's a nice gesture. I don't make $100 a month, so that means I don't see this money for maybe 6 months on YouTube. You have to meet a threshold. I set my threshold at 100 because back in the day I made way more than that, and it didn't matter what our thresholds were. But now when it's at 100, I make more like $5 a month, so it'll be many months, and it's pretty much just from Garrett throwing $20 in that I even passed the threshold ever. I'm only saying that because, just so you know, when you're throwing money into YouTube, they take 30%. So I'd only ever see $16 of that anyway. And then, like I say, I won't see it for a while. The other problem is, like, let's say I played some kind of a music on here and they copyrighted it. I wouldn't see any of that. They would just take the entire amount of money, all super chats that came in, they would keep, you know, that would go to whoever I copyrighted the music from. So it's a nice gesture. But if you want to support people, and I believe it's important to support people directly, Patreon or just, you know, the PayPal, or I forget, there's a couple other ones now. I think I just got okayed for, dang it, what's the other one? The one that starts with an S. I don't want to say Snapchat, but it's not Snapchat. There's another.
Subscribestar.
Subscribestar, thank you. Like Subscribestar was actually a pain in the butt. You could set up a Subscribestar, but then it has to be like verified or something, and they do that with humans. So I set it up maybe a month ago, or it seemed like a month ago, definitely before SHOT Show. And I just barely got an email, I think while I was either at SHOT Show or in New Mexico. It was somewhere where I couldn't do nothing about the email. I was driving or something, that said that it was finally, approved.
Dude, I've been looking at Flowplane because
What?
Flowplane, they're where Forgotten Weapons is moving to instead of Patreon. And it's a privately owned company, like Lioness Tech Tips, LTT, if you know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
They started it. It's their own streaming service / it's basically Patreon, except for you keep a bigger percentage of the money, and they don't plan on selling it for like any time ever. Like they're just going to keep it going and use it for content producers like us, like other people, to have a means to get revenue that isn't taxed so heavily by, you know, various entities. So I don't know. I think in concept, it's a really cool idea, and I'm looking into it. The problem is you have to ask to join. You can't just join. So I'm in the process of that right now.
Well, Yeah, there's a couple of things to go into there. An hour and a half into a midnight show isn't probably the best format for making it useful info, but yeah, that's one of the reasons that I think going forward, we need to realistically look at the way things are going. Um, I think pretty much up until now, I can confidently say that everybody's just been reacting. There's been very little strategy on how content creation is um, originates. I don't know what the word would be, but like at this point, there was nothing. There was like the established old media, back in the day, magazines, newspapers, television, cable TV comes around. And because there was so many channels in 24 hours to show them on, and cable television dominated, so that means there was viewers for all those channels and all that time. It got more and more people into being television stars, quote unquote, like, stars of channels or producers of shows or whatever. Like, instead of just being the big three networks, and the shows being made for them, and then the UHF channels, all of a sudden there's there are multiple of channels, so there's a lot more talent and there's a lot more skill set and there's a lot more money to be made and all that. And then you get the internet happens and it fits and starts. So the version of the internet that that kind of became dominant in early 2000s was the post AOL, MySpace, and forums type of internet, where people had access to the internet through their modem or their cable company, or maybe through a phone, just barely through a phone at that point. And they were raw on the internet, just individuals looking for stuff to do, just coming from something like a portal like AOL that only gave them certain choices. So all of a sudden they could do anything with their browsers, and they congregated at sites like MySpace or eventually Facebook and YouTube. And when they got there, they were individuals. And as those individuals, and I can tell you from being experienced, from being one of those individuals who went from sharing to creating projects, bigger, what do you want to call it, like actual careers out of it. It's not like they looked 20 years into the future and said, where do we want to be? They looked backwards and said, what worked in the olden days? What were things that we've seen before? What are we comfortable with? What are we familiar with? And that was television shows, which were, or maybe cable television shows, which were all, versions of old-fashioned television shows. So anyway, I guess what I'm saying is all of the stuff that we encounter is just reruns of shit that they already did. Nobody looked forward and has ever said, this is where we need to be, and this is the kind of stuff that we need to start doing to get to that point. And that's where I think the Patreons and other platforms that allow people to support individuals or individual projects specifically, that's where we're going to have that power to change direction with intent, or at least create things with intent to get results that are intended, as opposed to settling for whatever results we're able to, based on drifting or based on going with the current, which is what people have been doing have been doing, period.
Yeah. No, I don't know, man. Like, it's not like I have a plan myself, and maybe I'm guilty of that too. Just kind of like walking into it and, having fun with it and seeing what happens and having conversations. I mean, it hasn't really been there's no step-by-step plan that's ever happened with me anyway,
Well,
maybe there should be. Maybe there should be a bit of planning and a bit of forethought to some of it, at least.
And then sometimes it's not, and it's just having witnessed what's possible is another element of it too. It's not necessarily like everybody has to have a plan, or you can't deviate from a plan or anything like that. It's just that no one is, well, we don't tend to, I don't know, experiment enough or try new things enough. We get satisfied and content. Anyway, now Garrett just threw $50 in there, so okay, thanks, I guess. But he's also a Patreon, so I don't know. Thanks 3 times.
I really appreciate the people who support, and even if it's only like $1, I tell my folks like, everyone works super hard for their money, and they're investing their hard-earned money into me, and it definitely helps out.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. I was just watching a show today. What's his face? Can't think of his dang name now. But the guy from SOE. I can't think of the guy. You know, I'm talking about SOE gear, original SOE.
Yeah, he kind of a jerk, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could say that. He used to be. I can't think of his
I
name.
mean, I'm not saying he's like a bad guy, just a little
No, I know.
a little
He
brash,
played off of that for
a
a
little
while.
rough around the
But anyway,
edges.
he's like anybody. He's done different things. That's definitely one of the things that he did for a while there. He really played on that. Willis, that's his. So John had a video and he said something. Basically, he was saying a bunch of stuff, but to the effect of, if he was talking to some kid and the kid was had it all worked out or whatever, he was going to work on his Patreon so that he could get 4,000 people supporting him on Patreon at $1 a month, and then it was 10,000 people. No, he was trying to get 40,000 people. Was that it? I think it was. It doesn't matter. It was some amount, tens of thousands of people to do $1 on Patreon, and Willis was like, "Yeah, go ahead and do it. Who's stopping you? Do it. This is a time in the world where that works or whatever." And basically was just trying to break it down in a way to think about, like, all you had to, if you're providing enough service to somebody that they think, well, that was worth $1, then yeah, if you did that for 40,000 people, then why wouldn't you expect to get $40,000 a month for that?
Yeah.
And then he's like, who cares if somebody makes $40,000 a month? And if they did something that took them no time or effort that they were already doing anyway, but it was worth $1 to 40,000 people, then who cares? Like, it doesn't matter to anybody if that works for 40,000 people. Then why not make that a goal and work for that if that's what that person wants to do? And why would anybody want to shit on that?
Well, it's not like he held a gun to anyone's head of those 40,000 people's heads to make them donate $1. It's a free market. It's a choice. You don't have to donate. It's appreciated if you do, and it, slightly encouraged and all that stuff. But it's not like you're forced to.
No, and it's just, I mean, it's like the same thing with PBS. Can you hear her over there yelling at me?
Yeah.
I
feel like PBS shoves it down your throat, though. Like you're like watching the movie or whatever, and like right when it's about to get to the good part, they do like their like 15-minute telethon where they like guilt trip you into giving them $1.
Well, that's what it says. Their audience is a bunch of, well, I don't want to say it, but they're communists, right? They're people that want to think that they are interested in stuff that nobody else is interested in, and that whoever's interested in NASCAR is never going to be interested in the concert music or whatever. So, we can't do, there's no way that we can do this the normal way, or that we would appeal to the masses. So the only way we can make this awesome, excellent quality stuff happen is with your support or whatever. And yeah, I mean, it's sort of, they've created that, like, what do you call, like, not environment, but like atmosphere of hoity-toity or whatever. But the concept, I think, is sound, that like there are things that are not going to appeal to everybody, and it's frustrating because some things are super valid, or maybe they're just only interesting to 7 people. But if they don't require that much resource, then who cares if they only appeal to 7 people? We live in a world where that's possible now, and that's all I'm saying is that.
And the thing is, like, you don't get those donations, you don't get that kind of support unless you ask. And I think it's about how you ask, right? Like doing it how they do it, to me, seems a bit overbearing. But just mentioning it and saying like, hey, by the way, if you guys like the content, here's a website or whatever, check it out.
Oh, no, yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. In fact, I totally agree with you. I just would say it a little bit differently. And that's the thing, is that because of PBS acts like it's a donation or a handout or whatever, that whole concept of, I don't know what you call that, individual, it's crowdfunding. I don't know what to call it, but it's, when it's more of like the subscription crowdfunding like that. they've made it act like it's some sort of a handout when it's not. It's just a different way of um, of distributing the resource that makes the thing possible or not. And that's what I'm looking at it as, like, after the experiences that I've had now over the years, there's content that just can't appeal to a lot of people. It just never will. There's just not enough people. Pick some weird caliber, reloading for some weird caliber, or some obscure thing that's just never going to appeal. But then look at, you're just talking about Forgotten Weapons. I'm gonna have to take her out before she freaks out on me. He just did that thing for almost $1 million for one book. For a book about French guns from the olden days or something. Enough people? How many people was it?
Yeah, that basically no one would have cared about if he, well, not no one, but very few people comparatively would have cared about if it wasn't for him. But that's kind of the thing that...
No, I don't think that's the case at all. You're suggesting that because of his celebrity, a bunch of people bought a book they wouldn't normally buy? I don't think so at all. I think that for whatever, I don't know. If you're watching the thing, I might be totally wrong. The way I interpret it is that if there were, I forget how many people it was, 2,000, 20,000, 2,000 people. If there was 2,000 people on the planet today that wanted that book to exist, what he did is gather them, and they all threw down $60 or whatever for a book. The fact that it went to 1 million, I don't care if it went to 1 million or 500,000. It's just the fact that it went to 1 million is a nice, good number to point at and go, that's something that's not in demand. Nobody was like, hey, there needs to be this product. Like we're not going to, the world isn't, a better place because this product doesn't exist yet. It's just a thing that's cool. And the idea got out there and it's like, let's make that. And then it, $1 million in the grand scheme of things on this planet isn't that much money really. But like I say, when you look at it as far as something that got created by relatively few people, that's neat. But now look at what that $1 million could do to something that isn't a book. Look at what Skip is doing like the thing, what was it, a 511 store that you went and did the free sort of, I don't want to call it a class, or did you call it a class? Like the 511, like orientation?
Yeah, it's kind of like a mini class.
But like, that. I consider that the kind of stuff that's valuable because it's boots on the ground. And, well, you particularly, I've already said, like, I think you have a good way of approaching stuff where it's, you give out competent. So many people like to give out frilly CCW advice when they're talking to novices. I think that you've got you obviously have a good grasp on it, but you're able to get decent, like solid information across without, in a nice way, without dumbing it down. So I think that's valid. And, whatever, somebody else might think it's not, or not appreciate it as much, but it doesn't matter. That kind of effort, like you say, you've got a full-time job, you're a parent, you've got your things you're doing. But if you had $1,000 coming in from people who valued what you're doing, 1,000 people at $1, not $1,000 from one guy who thinks it's so great and you got a sugar daddy, but like $1 from 1,000 people, that's pretty neat. And then once that happens, so there now, let's say there's 15 Skips out there, and then you go to Jim from Faster Saves Lives, a guy who's a professional pilot and somehow created an organization that teaches kids, not kids, but school teachers, and I don't know, maybe kids, but school teachers, how to deal with emergencies and stuff in a way that the schools accept it, right? He's doing that as like, somehow, he's an Air Force guy too, I think. He's doing that as somehow a hobby. Like, okay, you can't tell the guy quit your real job, with retirement and like benefits. Okay, that guy isn't going to quit his job. But if there's somebody that can achieve what he's doing, that can do it for $2,000 a month, that could quit a shitty job and do what he's doing in 3 different states, what world do we live in then? Tony Simon, right? KD, I could go on, right? Argo's movie, right? I mean, talk about something that's valuable. Argo J is doing a movie about black dudes and guns in the United States in 2020. What would it be like if there was 16 of those movies being made, at any one time? That's the kind of stuff where changing the paradigm up on funding or whatever
I think is important. And looking at it as handouts, we're stuck in the like, oh, that was great. So here's an extra buck. Like nobody's going to quit their job and go do stuff like that because maybe they can figure out a way to get enough donations to, pay some bills. Once we change our relationship with what we value and what we're spending our money on, it doesn't take a lot, because going back to the 1,000 people throwing in a buck, well, now if those 1,000 people decided to throw $20, they can support 20 programs like that. And it doesn't have to be 1,000 people. Ideally, it would be 20,000 people deciding what they're going to throw their $20 at, and then we'd have 15 Skips and 15 Argos and 15 Gyms and 15 Hondas. And then we get it. I don't know. Did you guys ever watch public access on cable?
Yeah, there was a long period of time where I couldn't afford actual cable and I didn't have internet. So all I had was the rabbit ears.
Oh, okay. I can remember when I first moved out here, when I was first going to school out in Arizona, all I had for cable was like I think it was like a $15 a month cable, because the TV was like out in Tucson back then was like 4 channels, and the cable was like $15, and you got like those channels nicer, but like some, I don't know, whatever, the Superstation, WGN, a couple of cable channels basically, and then public access. And it was crazy weird. Like public access was sometimes good, but mostly it was just weird.
Yeah, like the late night weird shows. There was like some punk rock show that was on sometimes. I don't know. Like it was actually fairly recently, because it was around the time that they switched from the traditional rabbit ears to like the digital receivers that you had to have. And I never got that to work for whatever reason. It didn't work at my house, and that's when I got rid of my TV. I haven't had a TV since. So, but yeah, going back to Ian with the Forgotten Weapons and the book that he came out with, I wasn't trying to suggest that it was his celebrity that created interest in his book. I think it's his passion in what he cares about and what he's interested in that creates an interest and a celebrity around him. And then when he decides to do a book, because of that passion and interest in what he's doing, he's able to just, get supporters for what he's doing, versus if he didn't have that passion, if he didn't have that, like that following because of his skill of what he's doing, you know what I mean? Then not all of those people, or a significant number of those people, wouldn't know about the French guns that he cares about and has talked about a million times and is writing a book about. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I was just using that as an example, though, of like when a couple of people, relatively few people, are interested in something, the combined effort is pretty neat. It happened,
No, and I think what he did with that is amazing, and I think it's awesome, and I love like watching his show and learning about old cool guns with that never got produced or whatever. All that stuff it's cool to me. So I hope he keeps doing it for another 20 years.
I had a really good class tonight. It was, I literally got off from work and I went directly to teach a private class. But it was all women, and it was 2 women were married to each other, and one was very shy, timid, and wanted nothing to do with guns. And so her wife had showed her some of my videos and had been talking to her about it. But when I came to the house, like, she was not interested in anything I was talking about. And so,
so when you're saying private class, like for the 2 of them,
it was actually 4.
Okay, but like at their house. But Okay, cool.
Yeah. And so by the time that I left, she was actually open to actually shooting, because it was for a concealed class. And so tomorrow we're going to go to the range. But she just had so many hangups around guns, and she never grew up around them. She doesn't want anything to do with them. And kind of like the person who just wishes that, nothing bad really happens. But afterwards, she reached out and said that she really appreciated my approach, and that she was actually going to go to the range tomorrow and shoot.
That's really cool. And she'll probably be a gun owner and a Second Amendment advocate eventually because of you bringing her into it correctly and easing her into it. And, hopefully she gets a gun that's well recommended for her, that's not going to recoil and scare her or anything like that, and has a good time and just goes from there.
Yeah, I'm really excited and I try to nurture, like I can read my students and I definitely try to nurture them through the process if they need it. And she was just completely not into it. And she was nervous. Like, I'm going to have her shoot the new Block 44.
Oh, there you go.
And I'm going to see how she does. But I'm really excited because she's someone who would have never taken like self-protection or even been an advocate prior to talking to me tonight.
Yeah, that would probably be the gun to have someone who's timid about guns shoot for the first time, would be a 22 handgun of some kind, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, over a 22 rifle.
Well,
especially for the concealed carry class. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, in general.
I'm just that's the thing. I don't like to suggest. Yes, for the general. Well, wait a minute. I just moved my mic out of there. That's true. As a general rule, yeah, but I think it's up to the individual because there's going to be some people that are going to be more comfortable with a rifle for whatever reason, or somebody that's going to be offended if you start them off too slow. So, you just have to play it by ear with the person and be ready to introduce someone at whatever pace. Some people are going to need to be a passenger in a car. Other people are going to want to drive stick right away. Other people.
Right.
That's all I'm saying. But here's the thing. So I tend to think of you as being more pessimistic, but we got Skip's example here. And I'm going to suggest something and then let me know if I'm crazy or not. But I suspect that people who are anti or timid or like apprehensive about guns, who get introduced in a way that you just described, someone who they're comfortable with showed a video by somebody like Skip who, that video acted as an ambassador or whatever, like, as an introduction. And then that, whatever, broke the ice or that created a situation. Sorry, that dog's freaking out. She's doing everything she possibly can to let me know she needs to go outside. But that video creates a situation where then they feel comfortable enough to get into a situation like what you've created where they, you have a time to chat with them. And it sounds like being at their home. I don't even know if guns were involved. It was more of just a conversation that then, is now going to lead to some kind of a shoot or something. Now, if that person doesn't have a horrible experience, right, and starts to enjoy firearms, and then let's say I'm just going to put one if in there, like if they then decide to get a little bit active as a 2A activist, I think we've got someone there. And there's my question. I think we've got someone there who's not only going to be a 2A activist, maybe. I think we've got someone there who's a diehard 2A activist who's going to be upset that they've been duped for so long, and not just like have something to prove, not just upset, but be able to clearly enunciate or clearly define to the people that they're coming from why they're so upset and why they've been duped. So more than just having another person on our side for dodgeball, we're bringing over a valuable resource every time Skip brings someone in who has been duped, who has been deceived or whatever. They feel like they've been deceived. Or am I crazy? But I'm going to have to take that. You guys talk about it. I got to take this dog out before she gets really mad at me.
I agree. Like, I feel like a lot of the people, or really women who relate with me, it's because they've been talked down to, or they may not have ever even been exposed and they don't know the questions to ask. And I know the questions to ask sometimes because I've been there. Sometimes I forget some of the questions just because I've been doing it for a while. But they see me and they see that I'm a female, I'm girly, and we bond over like some of the weirdest things. Like this lady bonded with me because I had my nails done. And she's like, "Oh, you got your nails done too."
Yeah, that's one I can't pull. But I do know that like people that I've eased into shooting before, multiple of them are current gun owners and like talk to me about what gun they're going to buy next and this and that about it. And hey, did you hear about this law that they're passing? Versus before, they were people who didn't know anything about it, like they knew about a video game or, what's going on at work. So they weren't really interested in the Second Amendment and they were brought into it. I don't know if they were necessarily bitter because they were kept out of it by society, let's say, or whatever. But I know that they definitely see things in a new light once they're brought over. Once they get it, once that light bulb goes off, like, oh yeah, like this is a natural human right to be able to defend yourself. And if you're going to be able to defend yourself, you might as well use like technology. And what technology is there that's best to defend yourself with lethal force? Well, there you go. Like it's like a logical, natural progression of things that once you understand it, like you don't understand it and you see things differently. So
Yeah, I agree with that.
So how long have you been a teacher for?
I've been instructor for 11 years.
Damn. 11 years. Wow, that's cool. What state are you in?
Florida.
Okay. Well, never mind on taking a class. It's a bit of a drive. That's cool. So you do like handgun, like concealed carry weapon training classes, that kind of thing, or?
I do pistol, rifle, concealed carry classes, gun cleaning workshops, and I teach kids too.
Oh, that's really cool.
A lot of what I do is private lessons where people pay a little bit more to not sit in a group setting. And that's good for me too, because I'm still active duty. So I work full time and then I do this, I call it on the side. But full time active duty, I'm a firearms instructor too.
Nice. And kiddos too?
Yes, 2 kids, 10 and 13.
I've got 2 boys, 12 and 13. So there.
Oh, nice. Mine's are boys too.
Well, the 13-year-old's starting to act like a 13-year-old. I don't know how I feel about it. Like he's starting to talk back, and like he's got a girlfriend now, and he like he's got a cell phone that he's always supposed to answer and stuff, and sometimes he doesn't answer it when he's not at home, and he's been getting in trouble, and like I don't know what to do about it, and his mom doesn't know what to do about it. I don't know. Like it hasn't gotten like bad, but it's gotten to the point where I'm like, I gotta like put the kid in check somehow. But I don't want to like he's at that age where if you do it too hard, like you might lose him for a couple of years. So
Yeah, I completely understand.
I can't even imagine. I just got back, so I just heard the last part of all that. But sounds like you're talking about the kids and the electronics and trying to keep track of what's going on. Do you guys, as parents, there's not really chats that are just parents talking about parent stuff. I guess it's more like this where something comes up and you get like a brief moment occasionally to compare notes or something. But I can remember when I was a little kid, I guess being divorced was a new thing or a relatively rare thing or something. So there was groups for single parents, and I suspect, I mean, I'm trying to remember now, but I suspect some of that was to sort of help them counsel, what to do or whatever. But do they do that kind of thing nowadays for parents to like kind of compare notes?
I don't know, man.
guess
I
it's
mean,
tough.
me and the mother of my children are not together and have not been together for quite some time. So for my kids, it's not like an adjustment, more as just a reality of life. Like, hey, we're at mom's house on these days, and we're at dad's house on these days, and maybe dad's a little more relaxed with these rules versus mom's a little bit more uptight with this, and vice versa.
Oh, I guess, yeah, I don't mean so much the divorce part, because even if you were married, I mean, I'm just saying, like, as far as comparing notes as parents, but as I said it, I mean, I guess it answer my own question. Every kid's different. Every circumstance is always going to be different and stuff. But I was just thinking, we're talking about, well, we had been talking about earlier, getting together as gun owners and having conversations, being effective and stuff. And as parents, I mean, it's probably more important than anything, being, knowing what to do in today's changing world and what kids can and have access to and know and stuff. I can't even imagine.
Well, the internet's a good tool. I mean, like, not to
Are there
compare.
channels that talk about parenting, or that?
Yeah,
Oh,
there
okay.
are. There's one that I listen to actually that talks about peaceful parenting, and like the, not that you should like never ever 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 hit your kids ever, but basically, like you shouldn't basically ever beat your kids, because you're older than them, and you can't figure out a way to like reason them into what you want them to do, then you're not doing it right. I don't know, but there's all kinds of resources out there today that weren't out there in, like, let's say the 80s, at least not easily accessible.
Yeah, I would
where
imagine, just because of, again, all the shared everything that we've got. Parenting has to be in there.
and it's just a matter of like where you look and are you looking, and that kind of thing. But
I
I don't-
talked to one of the ladies tonight, and she was very hesitant about anything gun related because of her kids. And I was able to talk to her about how I've eased my kids into it and just my mindset behind being a mom. And, I think moms are kind of built different than dads. Dads are like, okay, I'm going to protect you. But moms were kind of like the nurturer, and we're going to protect, but kind of in a different way. So I had been in the headspace that she was in of, hey, my first priority is going to be my kids. And then I was able to talk to her about, as a parent, you need to look at it this way, and then you need to look at it that way. And then, like with my guns, I talk about how they're secured, but at the same time, like I need my kid to know how to use a gun because, God forbid if a gun is at their school and someone drops a gun, if they need to defend themselves, I need them to know how to defend themselves. Or if someone comes into my home and they need to get to my gun, I can open up my safe on my app and they can defend themselves. And that's not something that I think the average parent even talks about with their kids, but I want them to know how to properly use it because so many kids get hurt because they don't know how to properly use it.
and moreover, because of that reason, like friends at the playground, maybe someone finds their dad's gun and brings it with them. I want my kid to be like, let me see that, like, check it, like, clear the weapon, lock the slide back, take the magazine out, and hand it back to him. Like, what the hell do you have this for? You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where my kids are at with weapons.
Well, when they get to whatever stage, they can make that decision, right? Until then, it's like, leave it alone, tell an adult.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, I would at least have that peace of mind of knowing that, like, if one of their kids, one of their friends shows up and is like, oh, check this out, they're not going to be like, oh, cool, let me see it, and then something happens. Like, no, like maybe someone else's kids, but not mine.
Yeah, I agree. But we also talked about the fact that the one lady, her kids were older, and she said that for so long she would never have guns in her home because she felt like she was more of a liability than an asset because she didn't know how to properly teach her kids. And so to have a gun in the home, like it would have just been a liability. And I completely agree with her. And it's like, as parents, a lot of the times our kids don't listen to us, like they listen to other people. So that's where you find a professional to train your child. And maybe you guys get training together. Like I hugely advocate for families to train together. And then they all are on the same level and they can make it like something fun to do.
One thing that kind of worries me in the future, and it goes along with like teenage angst, like you go through those teenage years, you go through a breakup with a girlfriend or this or that, you feel like it's going to be the end of the world. Like, I definitely have my guns locked up in a way that the kids can't just access, but I'm also not like leaving them at home when I'm not here either, so I don't know, like I could see that being a concern, but the answer to that concern is keep your guns in a secure location that you have access to only,
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I'm not saying like I'm worried about my kids specifically having that at this point or even any time in the near future or foreseeable future at any point. But I'm also saying like knowing what I went through when I was that age, like there were certainly times where, like thoughts like that weren't far away kind of thing, because I'm not going to tell you guys all my life story, but there was a point where like things were not very freaking cool, and a lot of kids go through that in a time when they're not mentally ready to deal with it yet. And that's just something to consider. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Well, I mean, that's true, but it's theoretical. I look backwards at what has already happened, right? Because that's an actual indicator of what's going to happen, or at least it's the closest thing to an indicator of what's going to happen. It's definitely an indicator of what's already happened. And when accident rates are going down to all-time low numbers, at least since we've been able to count them realistically, and well, suicides are suicides, so that's totally different. But I don't think they're going up, but I might be wrong. I don't think they're going up though. But when accidents are going down, then yes, while everything you said is correct and true and we should be aware of it, I like to also then acknowledge that we've been aware of it and it's been working. So, yes, we want to be ultra responsible, but I think we also should acknowledge that we are very responsible. And in a country where we get scorned, we get bullied because we have so many guns per person. We have about the same amount of guns as we have cars, and we have more cars than we need, right? We have a lot of excess. We are a very wealthy country, and we're free, and we appreciate specific pieces of property like firearms because of what they represent, what we can do with them, and what they represent. So we have a lot of them. So while at the same time they'll scorn us for having so many of these things, we have to acknowledge, it's important that we acknowledge that we're also the safest that we've ever been, and we're safer than anyone in the world. So while any accident is too many, we have very, very few. And that's because we're competent and good people. And yes, there's always times when people get sad or whatever, but often those are moments of sadness in a lifetime of happiness, right? Like,
Right.
Those are times of badness. And yes, it happens, but let's acknowledge that they've happened. And looking back at history, they've happened a lot for a lot of people. That's a heck of a lot of people, a heck of a lot of days, a heck of a lot of nights, a heck of a lot of weeks and months and years in there. And we're still all here. And we've got the existence, the history of lower rates of accidents and such. So yes, it's a dangerous world, and we have dangerous implements, but we're super responsible with them. So yes, I just don't like to always leave my chats, at least, with like let's remember to be responsible. I just like to always throw out there too that like, let's remember we're super responsible. I'm not saying we never have to worry about it. We can kick back and forget about it, but let's just also recognize that we're super responsible as a community, as a nation.
Yeah. And I didn't mean to like bring it down. I was just saying,
No,
I was thinking out loud is what I was doing.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. And it's also like for the East Coast, 2 a.m. So appreciate everybody that sticks with us this late at night for these kind of random chats. Like yesterday's was a 15-minute chat, and I think I yawned more often than I said anything because I was so tired. I sent out a bunch of links, and I think I fell asleep for a couple of minutes and then woke up I sent out links to the show, fell asleep, and then woke up and did the show. And luckily, no one showed up because I was not, I was almost asleep. But anyway, we've had epic 3-hour chats. We've had everything in between. So I do appreciate the people that show up, and definitely the people that are on the panel, the people that make it possible for us to do what we're doing. We talked about Patreon earlier, but the people that value individual efforts, that's, I believe, the future of growth, the future of like evolution of what we've got. I kind of described before, I won't try to describe it again, that a lot of what we have today is echoes of what we had, because that's what we have to base ourselves off of, or that's what people coming forward have to base that off of. But the individuals that are out there doing different things and cutting new ground, that's what tomorrow's kids are seeing and they're going off of. So can't wait to see what's next. And we'll chat more about some of those kind of things in the upcoming shows. And as I have more time to devote to this show, it'll get more focused. I did like having Honda and Bob on today. So Honda and I have talked about trying to have him on a more regular, and that would be a different time for the show. So I'm still experimenting with time slots. If anybody wants to throw some suggestions in there for time slots that would work for you, you're either listening to this show live or as a recording, and your input I'd value more than anybody else's, because you're the one actually listening to this show. So let me know what time slots would be good for you, as I am adjusting my projects and obligations and responsibilities out there. It's in order to shuffle my resources around. My time as my ultimate resource, and this show I want to focus more time on, make this show more worthwhile. And if that means moving it into a more appropriate time slot based on when people are watching, or the people that do watch, when you're interested in it, let me know. We can shut it down. We've been going for a while. I do appreciate y'all staying up late with me here. But unless y'all wanted to talk about something else, I did miss the answer to the kind of question I put out there because the dog needed to go out real bad. Was I on anything there, though? When someone comes from being like anti and gets introduced and brought into being a gun owner in a positive way, so that they can understand where they came from, and I'm going to call it deception that the other side would use to keep them ignorant of what's going on. Do you think that they become even one of the more valuable allies we've got?
Well, I mean, I think if they're able to articulate why or how they were deceived, then maybe. But I think, like most of us, they're just going to be angry at, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't see how they're any different from anyone else, because I think most of us started off like that. Not all of us, obviously. Some of us, myself, I didn't have guns growing up as much. I mean, my friend had a 22 that we shot sometimes, and I had a BB gun, and that was about it. And like getting older and realizing, oh, I can buy a gun, like that's where it kind of started for me. So I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
No, that's cool. I never even thought about it like that. So yeah, it's not necessarily. Yeah, I guess I'm trying to be optimistic for sure too.
But I mean, like, I walk around a little bit pissed off at the government. You know my show. At least distrustful of them.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Have you ever worked for your uncle? You ever had a government job at all?
Nope. Never worked for the man.
I've had a couple of gigs that I got, I was directly working for the government, and then plenty of them since, that I've dealt with government in some way or another. But working for them directly, I'm not afraid of the government. I'm distrustful of any bureaucracy where unscrupulous jerks can hide in, and freaking government gives them so many nooks and crannies. The government isn't bad. It's the jerks that have figured out how to hide in there that make it bad for everybody and put a bad taste in people's mouths. But I don't know what to call it, the it's not so much stubborn. It's just like the inefficiency of the bureaucracies and stuff. I distrust it more than I fear it. I don't think there's no part of it that I've ever experienced that has its shit together enough that I'm afraid of it. I'm always just weary of its ability to do anything because it's, well, the worst of like doing anything by committee. Like everything you do in the government is by committee. So everything is the result of a committee. Rarely is that good, right? It's sometimes adequate.
Too many chefs ruin the soup.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, with that, Skip, I don't know if you wanted to throw anything in on any of that last stuff. Otherwise, anybody want to? You both have shows. Do you want to plug where the people can find you if they're not familiar with you already?
Sure. Check out my channel, eHonda720. Do a weekly podcast panel discussion where we go into conspiracies called the Gay Frog Chat. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I think we're doing fluoride or something this week. I'm not sure. I got some research to do, but yeah, talk about guns, do gun videos, and whatever else interests me too. But yeah, check it out, eHonda720. Thank you.
My channel is Skip's Tactical Solutions. I used to do a weekly live chat. I recently had a schedule change, so I don't know when I'll be able to start back doing my weekly live chats, but I do have a podcast as well, and that comes out weekly, but I try to put videos out on my channel weekly. And you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Skip's Tactical Solutions. And GWebs, thanks for having me on tonight.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thanks for chatting in the comments and then jumping in. I don't always send links out to everybody, and then tonight I only sent them out to like 6 people, so I didn't even think. But thanks for jumping in. You're welcome anytime. And I didn't know that you'd stopped doing the live one schedule change thing. Those are neat. Do you think that, just as a ending question or whatever, because I'm curious, you had done your channel for a while before doing that, and then you did them, and we're talking about doing like a live show on YouTube specifically. You did yours like turn the camera on and chat with the people in the text chat, so it's basically a conversation with the people that were there live. And the way that you did it, there was a reason to watch it after the fact. If you weren't there live, you'd still experience it just like someone who was. So do you think that helped your channel, had no effect, or could it have been negative? I'm assuming it wasn't negative because you would have quit doing it.
I think it really helps my channel as far as getting new subs, not so much. But for the people who subscribe, I think they can really get comfortable with me. And I have people who come to my channel, watch videos, and they may not be local, but in some form or fashion, then they decide to come and take a class with me from watching videos. And I mean, from doing videos, you may have like 20 people watching, but only like 10 are actually interacting. And I find that the ones that are not as interacting as much, sometimes they just watch me for months and then they finally pull the trigger and decide to take a class with me.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I appreciate that. I never even thought about it from that angle, but then, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then, as you said that too, the idea that, I guess, what do you call like the looking over the shoulder? If someone's just watching your videos, those are prepared, and they're not necessarily, the person's videos aren't scripted, but you can edit it. You can make sure that it's perfect because you're making a video. You edit it, you post it. So no one actually gets to see your mannerisms or your ums or just your reactions to things. And that's the kind of stuff where, yeah, that can make a big difference for an instructor, where anybody has info, but knowing that it's going to be done in a comfortable way or in a way that you can relate to or at a pace that's comfortable. That's the kind of stuff that a live conversation you could glean all that from a live conversation.
Yeah, and I had one lady, she was an older lady, and I guess she had been watching my videos for a couple months. And I did my free class in the Tampa area, and she showed up to the free class, and she said she wanted to show up because she wanted to make sure that I was the same in person as the videos that she watched me on. And she said, you know what? I'm absolutely going to take a class with you because I think you're great. So I think the YouTube just allows so many people to, one, get free information, and then two, they can just interact with you. And sometimes certain instructors are just not good for everybody. And I know my personality is not for everyone, but I just find since I've been in the military for as long as I have, I can turn it up and then I can turn it down as well. So it seems to work for me.
I would imagine, I understand what you're saying, I think. I would imagine there's going to be somebody who you don't get to experience that often. And it's one of those things where when you're in the military, it's like there's rank, right? There's procedures. I forget the words anymore, but you've got obligations. Like if someone who's higher ranked than you says something, you do it, right? That you've got a chain of command and stuff. And as an instructor, someone either is there because it's their job to listen to you, or they have to listen to what you're saying or whatever. They have to pass a test. Where in real life or whatever, non required type of attendance type of thing, somebody might just be like, I don't know, their friend told them to take the class, or they feel some obligation to take the class, but they don't really want to be there. So now, that could be a type of student that you're not familiar with. And I'm not saying you, I'm saying I should be saying a military instructor, a police instructor. Like, I guess I'm thinking of a couple of Border Patrol guys who I've observed their CCW classes, and they did not seem to be able to deal with a student who was really not interested in being there. And that can happen. Like, some students just are, either they're intentionally or they just seem like, weird. Like they don't want to be there. Like they're trying to be obnoxious or something, when maybe it's just their personality or whatever. But, when someone's used to having their students have to listen, that whenever they have a student who could care less, they don't know how to deal with it. And that's just one of the things I'm thinking, like, you happen to be really good at like the opposite of that, it seems like. But YouTube gives somebody that glimpse of like, if somebody had a stick up their butt, let's say, and there's going to be some people who just, that's the instructor they're looking for. Like for whatever reason, they value that in an instructor, and, they don't want an instructor who's, ever says, for example, or like, that isn't reading from a syllabus or something, where other people couldn't deal with that kind of instructor. So that's neat. I never thought about, it's an interesting part of what YouTube offers, I guess. The tools we have now offers people.
And I mean, I feel like they really get to see what they're going to spend their money on, and they can see how they're really going to mesh with that instructor, and that can make or break a relationship.
All right. Well, again, we just keep going on, but it's been a long show. Thanks everybody for jumping in. Thanks Skip and Honda, and we'll see you everybody tomorrow.
All right. Have a good night.
Peace out.